If I had to lean one way or the other, I would say maybe a little bit underrated because I think he has an argument right now for best two guard in the league, even though he's currently playing the point. But I mean, like,
Yeah.
uh, I view him, Zach LaVine, and Donovan Mitchell as kind of on the same tier of like two guard. Um, I think I
Still.
would give. I think right now.
Let me put you on game.
Well, let's talk about Devin Booker. Let's cue that up for you, bro. Let's talk about Devin Booker and his recent. I don't even really want to say resurgence, but since Chris Paul has gone down, he's really been carrying the Phoenix Suns as a point guard book. So, what do you think about his rise?
Yeah, I mean, so over on the season, he's averaging 26 on 5 and 5 and 57.3% true shooting, which is pretty high for a guard. Most guards are around like 55%. So that's really good to see. And since CP3 has gone down, he's averaged 34.5 rebounds and 7 assists a game. So he's doing it as that kind of combo lead guard position. And the Suns are 9-3 during that span since Chris Paul has been down. And this has been since the All-Star break. And they're just running through teams. They're leading the league in net rating at about 8.5. So they're just blowing guys out left and right. And this team is really scary because I think Booker is starting to step into that next level that we have all been waiting for since he dropped 70 on the Celtics a couple of years ago. Recently, it was the anniversary of that, and they definitely took an L in that game. But we saw this young rising star. Like, okay, what is he about to do? Is he going to be the next Jordan? Like 70 points is not something that just happens. You know what I mean? And I think that at the beginning of the season, he was kind of appropriately rated, whereas like, Chris Paul is definitely the leader of this team. Booker, he's just a walking bucket. He is he's a franchise cornerstone, definitely, but we don't know if he's really that guy. But then recently with his team's play and CP3 being out, he's showing us that he potentially could be underrated. And I think that over the last month and a half or so, he's definitely been underrated. I think he's carrying the offensive load of this team. He has, and his defense has also improved. About a month ago, I would say, Monty, I think he was about, in the top 1/3 of guards defensively. And since then, his defensive rating has only increased. And the team's defensive rating actually drops by about 6 points in all the games that he's been out this season. He's averaging close to about a steal a game, and is one of the reasons why the Suns have a really strong defense. Obviously, Mikal Bridges is kind of the linchpin of that defense, but you add in guys like Booker, and he's giving the opposing team's guards fits. So I think that his defense has been underrated, and I think his offense, he's really carrying a big load, and I think he's been underrated. So what do you think? Is he overrated or underrated in your eyes?
I would say neither. I would say he's probably properly rated. If I had to lean one way or the other, I would say maybe a little bit underrated because I think he has an argument right now for best two guard in the league, even though he's currently playing the point. But I mean, like, I view him, Zach LaVine, and Donovan Mitchell as kind of on the same tier of like two guard. I think I would give. I think right now I would give Book the edge because I think in terms of talent, I see them as equal. But I think that if you look at his accomplishments in the league so far, especially considering last year, the fact that he's been to the finals, the fact that he's carrying the best team in the league right now, I think that you have to put him above those two guys. I think you kind of have to nudge him into a tier of all of his own. But I think those three guys are probably at that position the best three because I think that position has been dominated by James Harden for the last couple of years. But watching him in Philly lately, it hasn't been great. Yeah. So, and overall this season and last season, he hasn't exactly been the best. He made that great first impression. He was on his best behavior for the first couple of games, but I don't know if he's really even healthy right now. But outside of James, I think Devin Booker right now, because, it shifts. Like these positions, they shift. It shifts about who you're talking about, who's the best at one particular time. Right now, I think it's Devin Booker. Donovan Mitchell, he's a guy who I think we've seen him explode in the playoffs for these 50-point games. He's been huge. He was damn near unstoppable in the playoffs last year, but his team hasn't quite had the success the Suns have had last year. Zach LaVine is a talented guy as well, but his team hasn't made it to the playoffs. They look like they had some steam going early on in the season, but it's looking like they're probably going to be a first round exit at this point. So, but you know, I think you have to consider two things when you consider those guys. You have to consider the narrative, and then you also have to consider the actual talent. So in terms of their actual talent, I would say they're on the same level. But in terms of like, if you include accomplishments and narrative, I think Book has the edge, and I think he's probably also a better creator for others than those two. So that I think that can also give him an edge as well in the talent department. So yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No, yeah, no. Yeah, his offensive game has definitely gotten refined, and he's taken some notes from CP3 in terms of the mid-range shot. His three-point shooting is still like kind of slightly above league average, but nothing too dangerous, even though he can get really hot from three. But that mid-range game, his ability to change levels, to score at all three levels in transition, and to just find the open guy has been something to behold, especially over the last month. And I'm actually like, his play has solidified what I think everybody saw as a shaky Phoenix Suns #1 team. Like, yeah, they're the best, but you know, last year they benefited from a couple injuries here and there from opposing squads, and we don't know if they're really as great as we think they are. But their play, but now I'm like, Phoenix actually might have a chance to, you know, get out the West, even with a healthy Warriors team. And it's going to be really fascinating to see who's there come June. So the West is a lot more interesting now. And I don't think it is now. It's a two-headed race with, you know, a dark horse in Memphis, maybe making an upset here or there. So I'm excited for the Eastern Conference playoffs, but I think the Western Conference finals and semifinals is going to be something really spectacular.
For sure. You seem like you had a little bit of a consternation at my at my two guard rankings. Is that not how you see it? Do you see it as more like more definitively Book and then everybody else?
I think Book has gotten to that next level, and I feel that way because I think Mitchell has had a lot of talent behind him for longer, so that's kind of bolstered his ranking. And because his team has been a playoff team, I kind of give the edge to him. Then I think LaVine is right there, but I feel like for LaVine's game, I think he's still a little too heavily relying on like heat check moments, and his offense can kind of like come in and flood you, but then at some other points disappear. And I really want to see more of a consistent effort in terms of just, instead of it just being high volume scoring, really efficient scoring. But because of the winning and because of, I think that Book kind of gets that edge at the moment as in terms of the top two guards. So, but
yeah. It's a talented league. I remember it being kind of Dwayne Wade and Kobe, and then there were no other like really good two guards, or sometimes, you know, like they were a tier above everyone else. But you even got guys like CJ McCollum and Jaylen Brown who are also really good. So say CJ especially since coming to New Orleans. So yeah, it's a talented league, but I think Book has the edge right now.